Part 1. Chapter 1. Breakout. September 2004. They had moved Ned Bulstrode to the death house yesterday and executed him by lethal injection at about 3 a.m. that morning. Rob Williams sat in his 12 by 7-foot cell on death row of Coleman Correctional Institution, South Carolina, and concentrated on reimagining the expanse of blue sky shown on the photograph of Franconia Ridge, New Hampshire, in the watercolour he was painting. The photograph served as a template. He had never been there. Had never been on any part of the Appalachian Trail, in fact. The photograph was the closest he would ever get to either. He had spent 14 years waiting to die, and it had desensitized him to the sporadic ritual of capital punishment. He had just turned 18 when he experienced it for the first time. The date was etched in his brain. May 15, 1990. They had taken the guy out of his cell screaming and cursing. It had terrified him. He had not been able to sleep well for a couple of weeks after, as he tried to come to terms with the awful realization that this was what lay in store for him. Now, it was just part of the rhythm of the place. It would be his turn soon enough, he knew that. The last peels were exhausted. He had trained his mind over the long years not to anticipate any clemency. He kept himself in the moment. Right now, he needed to lay down the lighter colours of the cumulus clouds in his painting before applying the blues that would capture the sky as it merged with the mountainous horizon. Williams wondered idly what price his art dealer down in Key West would list it for. Recently, his watercolours had been fetching as much as $5,000. Of course, if I get the needle in the meantime, it should put the price up a couple thousand. No more supply, he thought to himself with grim gallows humour. He glanced at his watch. In 25 minutes, it was time for his exercise period. He would be given an hour in a narrow, outdoor, caged enclosure, separated from the general prison population. It had a basketball hoop and a weight training bench with a few free weights. Williams thought of it like a glorified dog run. At least it meant an hour of daylight and pure sunshine. The only natural light in his cell came from a narrow slit window just below the ceiling on the north-facing wall. He habitually positioned his easel to take best advantage of the shaft of illumination that the aperture provided when he was working. Now, he carefully rinsed his brushes and palette and put the black disc covers back on the small pots of watercolours. He left the painting until the last minute to allow his most recent work to dry. While he waited, he put on a pair of runners and grabbed his prison-issue cap to keep the sun off his head. The unfinished painting was then stored carefully under his bed. It was one of 2 he was working on. That's all there was room for under the bed. His living space was so confined, he restricted works in progress to a maximum of 2 at any one time. The finished products were shipped to his dealer. Rob Williams was 31 years of age and 170 pounds of lithe muscle with very little body fat. He stood 6 feet 2 inches tall, with startling blue eyes, and had dark hair cut short. His physique he attributed to good genes, a selective approach to what was presented to him on his meal tray 3 times a day, and an obsessive approach to his daily workout. He had watched too many death row inmates over the years literally go stir-crazy from the boredom, social isolation, and anxiety associated with their incarceration. He kept himself sane by adhering to a rigorous schedule every day. Every waking hour was accounted for. At 1 p.m. precisely, the guard came to escort him to the exercise yard. He would stay with Williams for the period allowed, never letting him out of his sight. It was hot and humid as the prisoner emerged to a cloudy sky. What struck Rob Williams as odd, though, was that there were no birds singing. He gave it little thought as he stripped off his shirt and tossed it into a corner, then began to run sprints.